My coworker suddenly called the cops, saying I'd raped her. When the officers asked where, she said it happened in a dream. And she was right. I had raped her in a dream. Because somehow, our dreams are connected. Officer, Ethan Cole raped me, she'd said, her voice shaking but firm. You have to arrest him. My coworker, Maya Vance, had brought 2 Seattle police officers into the open plan office, pointing a trembling finger at me. What the hell? Ethan, you didn't, someone whispered from the next pod, over. You assaulted Maya? I can't believe it. I always knew he was a creep. A wolf in sheep's clothing. The accusation exploded through the office like a bomb. Heads popped up over monitors. All eyes were on me, dripping with contempt. What? When did I ever do anything to you? I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. Maya, if you're going to call the cops, you need evidence. We're just co-workers. I don't think I've ever even stood within 5 feet of you. You can't just destroy someone's life like this. My mind was racing. Was she insane? Accusing me of rape? What was her endgame? To completely ruin me? In this climate, that was frighteningly easy to do. All it took was one viral tweet, one post about how a woman would never joke about her own trauma, and a man's career, his entire life, could be torched. But I hadn't even done anything to offend her. We were just colleagues in a massive tech firm, barely exchanging a word. What could she possibly gain from this? You're a person of interest in a sexual assault allegation. You're coming with us, one of the officers said, pulling out a pair of handcuffs. As he moved toward me, Maya glared, her eyes burning with a venomous hatred. Don't you remember? She spat. Last night, and the night before, and she bit her lip, her knuckles white. Jesus, Ethan's a monster. He's been doing this to her for nights on end. The shock in the office deepened. Even I was stunned. For nights on end? I was more confused than anyone. The last few days have been a blur of coding, debugging, and a long commute home. I was in the middle of a brutal crunch, working myself to the bone. I barely had the energy to eat, let alone assault someone. Officer, I think there's been a mistake, my project lead and roommate. Alex stepped forward. Ethan's been pulling all-nighters with the rest of our team. We leave together, and it's usually after midnight. He just wouldn't have had the time. We've been burning the midnight oil for a week straight to meet a deadline. We get home, pass out, and wake up just to do it all over again. Alex is right. Ethan's been swamped. Someone else chimed in. Who knows? Maybe he did it after work. A real predator, a woman from another department muttered, her voice dripping with poison. She'd already convicted me, right? Ma'am, can you give us a time and place? The other officer asked Maya, his brow furrowed. He did it in my dream, Maya said, her voice dropping but still filled with conviction. But it felt so real. It was like, she stared at me, her face a mask of rage and violation. What? In a dream? Alex and the others just stared, their jaws slack with disbelief. The situation had veered from horrifying to utterly absurd. The first officer slowly put his handcuffs away, looking at me with a flicker of sympathy. Ma'am, filing a false police report is a serious offense, he said gently. And this sounds a lot like slander. I'm not slandering him. It was real. I could feel everything he did to me. I could even... She choked on the words, her furious gaze locked on me, as if her memories were tangible proof. The officers exchanged a look of weary resignation, shook their heads, and turned to leave. Wait, where are you going? Maya cried out, her voice cracking with desperation. I'm not lying. Let go, Maya. It was just a bad dream, a coworker said, patting her on the back. Yeah, maybe you're just stressed. You should try some melatonin or something. A few of her friends gathered around to comfort her. I just watched her. Maya was in her mid-20s, attractive, single. She'd been at the company for less than 2 years and worked in a completely different department. Look, even if you think you're some kind of social justice warrior, you can't just go around accusing innocent people of things like this, I said, my voice low and steady. I'm letting this go. But if you ever slander me like this again, you'll be hearing from my lawyer. You rapist. I hate you, she screamed, her eyes still blazing. Ethan, just get back to your desk, Alex said, putting a hand on my shoulder. I'll have HR talk to her. Our team was one of the company's top performers, and I was a senior developer with a solid track record. In a situation like this, management would almost certainly side with me. Maya was an unstable element. They'd probably let her go. Yeah, I'm fine, I nodded, turning back to my work. The project deadline was still looming, and I didn't have time for this drama. Because of the incident, however, I was told to take the rest of the day off. No overtime for me tonight. Dude, you're a legend. Dream rapist, one of my friends texted in our group chat. LOL. Seriously, man, what are the odds? You get the one who accuses you of psychic assault. First it was guys getting canceled for looking at someone wrong on the subway. Now this. Dream crimes. The future is wild. Tell me about it. My bad luck. I type back. Whatever. I'm exhausted. Haven't had a decent night's sleep in a week. I'm crashing hard tonight. And I was. I grabbed some takeout, showered, and was dead to the world by 10. Sometime later, I slipped into a dream. The scene materialized around me, and a figure was standing there. This had been happening for a few nights now. The moment I fell asleep, I'd see her. The woman was, of course, Maya Vance. I didn't know why, but in my dreams, she was unbelievably vivid. Her hair wasn't a ponytail, and she wore a simple white sundress. She was standing in front of me, a sweet, gentle smile on her face. And seeing her, a strange, irresistible pull took hold of me. I walked toward her. You came, she said, her voice full of warmth and anticipation. I'm here, I replied, taking her hand as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Ahead of us was a small clearing in a forest, and without a second thought, we walked into the trees together. Once we were inside the grove of trees, an urgent need washed over me, and soon we were lost in each other. Yes, I was dreaming, and in my dream, I was making love to Maya Vance. But the dream wasn't something I could control. I found it bizarre myself. Why her? We barely knew each other. She was attractive, sure, but she wasn't my type. If I was going to have an erotic dream, shouldn't it be with my ideal woman? Why Maya? But the me in the dream wasn't asking these questions. I was completely absorbed, lost in the pleasure of the moment, when a shrill ring of my phone ripped me from the dream world. I blinked, disoriented, and fumbled for my phone. The caller ID read, Maya Vance. Ethan, please, just leave me alone, she sobbed into the phone. I'm begging you. Her desperate plea echoed the scene I had just been torn from. A flicker of heat went through me, followed by a wave of cold shock. Could it be? Are our dreams synced? If that were true, it was incredible. What are you talking about? I asked, my voice feigning ignorance. You know damn well what I'm talking about, she shot back, her voice thick with tears and fury. What you just did to me. You bastard, you monster, you rapist. I already told you, stop accusing me of things, I said, my tone turning icy. I know it's become a sport for some people to throw around accusations with zero consequences, unlike what happens to the man on the other end. But if you keep this up, I swear, I'll take you to court for defamation. The current social climate was a minefield. I'm coming over, Maya said suddenly. No, you're not, I said flatly. Accusing me with no evidence is one thing. But if you come here and set me up, I'm done for. No way. I wasn't letting her anywhere near me. After that high-profile case where the guy was convicted even though everyone knew the story was full of holes, I'd learned my lesson. Keep your distance from anyone who seems even remotely unstable. My rejection seemed to push her over the edge. She sounded like she was completely falling apart. If you don't see me, I'll hang myself on your front door. I'm already at my breaking point because of you. If this keeps happening, I'm actually going to die. Her voice rose to a hysterical shriek. Look, what do you want from me? I sighed, rubbing my temples. Fine, let's meet somewhere. I gave her the address of a desolate, poorly lit scenic overlook a few miles out of town. There were no cameras, no people. If she wasn't serious, she wouldn't dare go to a place like that. Okay, I'm on my way, she agreed without a moment's hesitation. Her instant agreement surprised me. I couldn't back out now. I threw on some clothes, went down my car, and drove to the overlook. A few minutes later, she pulled up. The light was terrible. I used my phone's flashlight to see her face. She looked haggard, her expression a mix of exhaustion and raw desperation. Ethan, will you please just let me go? She begged. I would if I could, but I have no idea what's going on either, I said, feeling a surge of helplessness. This whole thing is insane. I glanced at the electric scooter she'd parked nearby. I didn't think you'd actually come. This place isn't safe. At this point, there's nothing left to be afraid of, she said, her voice flat. Right now, if you could guarantee me one night of peaceful sleep, I would sleep with you for real. I'd do anything. She said it so bluntly, her eyes boring into mine. Get in the car, I said, my resolve softening at the sight of her pathetic state. Let's talk this through properly. She nodded and got into the passenger seat. I know you want to do it with me in the car, she said as soon as the door closed, and she started taking off her jacket. This would be my first time doing something like this, but if it makes you stop, you can do whatever you want. She was actually pretty, with a surprisingly nice figure that was revealed as she shed her outer layer. Stop, I said, holding up a hand. I don't want to do that. Let's just talk like adults. Our goal here is to solve the problem, not create new ones. Then how do we solve it? She asked, looking at me intently. The way you're talking. It proves you're a part of this, doesn't it? You know what's happening. No, I said quickly, shaking my head. I felt like she was trying to lead me into a confession. For all I knew, she had a recorder running. All it would take was one misspoken word, one edited clip, and some activist lawyer would have a field day. I'd be finished. I don't know what's going on, which is why I wanted to ask you what's happening on your end, I said, taking control of the conversation. Tell me exactly what you experience in your dreams. Her story began to tumble out. In my dream? No, it's more than a dream. The feeling is too real. It's more real than you and I sitting here right now. You rip my clothes off, and you force yourself on me. I'm so scared. I don't know why it's happening, but I know it's you, violating me, taking me by force. She recounted her experience, her face pale with fear. But as I listened, I frowned. Something was off. I was in the dream too, and while we definitely had sex, it wasn't violent. It was harmonious, even tender. She had been an active participant. The sensations felt real, but I could still distinguish it as a dream. In her version, however, I was a violent aggressor, and she experienced it as a terrifyingly real assault. It made me wonder, was her experience genuinely different? Or was she lying? Or at the very least, exaggerating? It wasn't unheard of. This is too strange, I finally said. If you're open to it, I know someone we could see tomorrow, a kind of spiritual guide. He's an expert at interpreting things like this, dream analysis. I wasn't usually one for New Age stuff, but this was so far beyond normal that I was willing to try anything. And I happen to know an intuitive guide in Fremont who is supposedly the real deal. Okay, fine, Maya said. Then her eyes locked onto mine. But that feeling, actually, I want to try it. Her gaze grew intense, almost feverish. Maybe if we do it for real just once, it'll break the spell or something. Her eyes were burning. If you really want to, I said slowly, my mind racing through potential legal traps, I'll need a written and signed consent form, stating clearly that consent cannot be revoked after the fact. We also have to film a video. In it, you have to explicitly state that you are willing. And as I listed the precautions, her expression soured. What? What do you think I am? Are you serious? She asked, offended. I have to be, I shot back. You already called the cops on me once. I'm terrified of ending up in prison. As much as the idea of making the dream a reality appealed to me, the thought of a jail cell was a powerful deterrent. Fine, she said, biting her lip, her mind made up. I'll do it. Let's just go to your place. You have a pen and paper, right? Are you sure? I was stunned she'd actually agreed. A part of me was still worried, but with all these precautions, I figured I'd be safe. Let's go. To your place? I said, nodding. She didn't even bother getting out of the car, leaving her scooter behind as I drove us back to my apartment. I gave her a pen and a notepad. She quickly wrote out a declaration, confirming that her consent was freely given and that she would not recant or press charges afterward. She signed it and pressed her thumbprint below the signature. Then, biting her lip again, she leaned against me while I filmed a short video on my phone. In it, she confirmed, looking directly at the camera, that our encounter was completely consensual. After all that was done, she looked up at me with pleading eyes. There, can we now? She was clearly impatient. Okay, I said, no longer refusing. I led her into the bedroom. At first, she was shy, and I felt a little awkward. But then she seemed to recall the dreams, and with a determined look, she took my hand, her actions becoming bold and proactive. Whatever, she whispered. It's happened so many times in my dreams. I don't even care anymore. Afterward, we both fell into a deep, dreamless sleep. The next morning, I woke to her stirring beside me. Maya's face was glowing, the dark circles under her eyes completely gone. It was obvious she'd had the best night's sleep in weeks. You're amazing, she said, smiling. We should be together. Together? Isn't this a little fast? I was taken aback by how direct she was. Looking at her radiant face, I could guess her motivation. What's wrong with it? You're single. I'm single, she said simply. Okay, I said after a moment's thought. We can be together. As she said, we were both single. She'd clearly been starved for this kind of intimacy, and now that she'd had a taste, she wanted more. We decided to become a couple. When we walked into the office together that morning, hand in hand, jaws dropped. What's going on with you two? A coworker asked, eyes wide with disbelief. Just a few days ago, Maya had been hysterically accusing me of dream rape. The story had even made the rounds on a few local gossip forums, giving us a brief, bizarre moment of internet infamy. And now, we were a couple. It was enough to give anyone whiplash. Well, I started, unsure how to explain it. But Maya spoke up first. Ethan and I are together now, she announced to the onlookers. The whole thing before. It was a misunderstanding. After thinking about it, I realized I actually kind of like him. So, we decided to make the dream a reality. A faint blush colored her cheeks as she said it. Whoa, seriously? You guys are that fast. So, I guess Ethan really satisfied you, huh? The surrounding colleagues wore expressions of amused, gossipy curiosity. Ahem. Yeah, that's right, I confirmed, squeezing her hand. But as I held her hand, I felt a flicker of resistance, a subconscious urge to pull away before she stopped herself. A thought crossed my mind. Are her feelings for me real? After we went public, things got simpler. We spent every night together. Her appetite was voracious, and we often left each other exhausted. But strangely, the shared dreams stopped completely. She slept soundly every night, no longer plagued by unwanted nocturnal visitations. As our relationship deepened, my guard started to come down. But things were never that simple. One day, Maya didn't come to work. She told me she was hanging out with her girlfriends. But from what I knew of her, she didn't really have any close friends, at least none she'd ever mentioned to me. I had given her an Apple Watch a while back. Using the location tracking feature, I saw where she'd been. A wellness studio in Fremont. It was a studio run by the same intuitive guide I had wanted to take her to see, a man known for his expertise in dream analysis. So, Maya had gone to see him behind my back. I thought for a moment, then texted my team that I was taking a half day to go fishing. I got in my car and drove straight to the studio. I found the guide, an older man who went by Master Chun. Did you do a reading for her? I asked, showing him a picture of Maya on my phone. I did, Master Chun said, looking at me curiously. What about it? She said her dreams were somehow linked with someone else's. She wanted to know if the connection could be broken. I took a look. It's possible to sever it, but it's complicated. So I haven't done anything yet. He paused, studying my face. Is this dream connected to you? She's my girlfriend, I nodded. We got together because of the dreams. The dream wasn't your doing, was it? Looking at her energy, the reason it's so difficult to undo is because the link was created intentionally by someone else, he continued. And the method was very sophisticated. I'd known Master Chun for years, so he was being candid with me. I stood there in silence. Someone had intentionally manipulated my dreams? The idea was hard to wrap my head around. I was a believer in some fringe ideas, otherwise I wouldn't know Master Chun, but this felt like something out of a sci-fi movie. And for what purpose? What could anyone possibly gain? How do you undo it? I asked. Honestly, if you two are together and happy, there's no need to, he explained. This type of dream connection, I call it a desire bond, is meant to create an irresistible link between two people to make it easier for them to get together. But he hesitated for a moment. I get the sense that she is not fully aligned with you. Her intention, I believe, was to sever her side of the dream. He chose his next words carefully. And then, find a way to punish you. I knew it, I muttered, nodding slowly. She's not the type to let things go. From the moment she called the police, I knew Maya was not someone to be trifled with. After talking with Master Chun for a bit longer, I felt mentally prepared. I told him not to do anything about the dream link and went home. When I saw Maya later that evening, I walked over and wrapped my arms around her. I was thinking about something, I said softly. Should we get married? Married? She looked up, her face twisting in disgust as she pushed me away. I have no intention of getting married right now. I don't think marriage is a good choice for me. In fact, if you're thinking about marriage, maybe we should just break up. Her tone was final. It was clear she'd already decided to end things. My proposal was just the excuse she needed. Why? I asked, feigning confusion. We're good together. Isn't marriage the next logical step? Because you're a fraud. You used some kind of black magic to trick me into sleeping with you, she accused, pointing a finger at me. You and that psychic guru are friends, aren't you? You had him implant those dreams in my head so you could torture me and wear me down. I know everything, Ethan. You are a disgusting, terrifying person. I was stunned. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Her theory was so wild, so paranoid. Are you serious? I asked. Why would I ever do something like that? To think she believed I'd orchestrate such a bizarre, elaborate scheme just to get her into bed was insane. Don't play dumb. I've already collected the evidence. You just wait, she snarled, then turned and stormed out. I looked around the apartment and realized all of her things were gone. She had packed up and left while I was out. This was premeditated. A short while later, the police were at my door again. You've had another complaint filed against you, the officer said, looking deeply uncomfortable. The complainant alleges that you used esoteric and manipulative means to coerce her into a sexual relationship. Look, you're just going to have to come with us. The officer clearly thought the whole thing was ridiculous, but he had a job to do. They took me down to the station, and there was Maya, presenting her evidence to the detectives. It included a secretly recorded video snippet of my conversation with Master Chun and the consent agreement we had signed. To silence me, he even forced me to sign this contract before he would sleep with me, she declared, her voice ringing with righteous indignation. And that psychic admitted the dream was planted by someone. Ethan is the only one who benefited. Who else could it be? He made it look like I was willing, but the truth is, this was all part of his sick, calculated plan. Soon, Maya took her story to the internet. This guy is a master manipulator. I can't believe a man would stoop this low, using psychological warfare just to get a woman in a bed. He needs to be arrested. This is rape by deception. Hashtag believe Maya. This is coercion. Lock him up. A firestorm erupted on Twitter. I was being condemned by thousands of strangers. This time, even people at work, people who knew me, started to look at me with suspicion. Had I really done it? Had I really used some kind of twisted mind game to trick Maya? I felt like I was caught in a trap with no way out. There's no actual evidence here, the detective told me later. The police, at least, were on my side. They operated on proof, not public opinion, and they weren't going to arrest me based on a bizarre accusation and a Twitter mob. Amid the flood of online hate, I went back to see Master Chun. I'm public enemy number one now, I said, looking him in the eye. I need to know who did this. It wasn't you, was it? Master Chun shook his head. Of course not. I would never do something like that. However, I think I know who did. Who? I pressed. You'll find out soon enough, he said cryptically. For now, let me help you with the dream issue. You know, these things aren't always unexplainable by science. He reached over, took my phone, and peeled a small, cute sticker off the back. I stared at the sticker, completely baffled. What was he doing? There, he said with a smile. The dream connection between you and her is resolved. It's that simple. I asked, incredulous. Well, it's not that simple, but I can't explain the specific reasons. Just think of it as my little superpower, he said with a chuckle, offering no further explanation. I was skeptical, but as I looked at the sticker, a memory surfaced. My supervisor, Sarah Jenkins, had given it to me a little over a month ago. She'd said it was cute and that she had a matching one. At the time, I thought maybe she was flirting with me, so I stuck it on my phone. Thinking back, it was only a few days after I got the sticker that the dreams about Maya had started. No way, I thought. It can't be a coincidence. But I still couldn't understand why my supervisor, Sarah, would do something like this. Sarah and I didn't have any problems. No grudges, no rivalry. And how could a simple sticker cause all this chaos? I took the sticker and, on a whim, drove to the University of Washington. I had a friend who worked in the applied physics lab there. Can you run a diagnostic on this? I asked, handing him the sticker. He took one look at it. A sticker? Wait a minute. He squinted. This isn't a sticker. It's a microcircuit. Is this what I think it is? He looked up at me. I heard you were caught up in some crazy business. Something about sharing dreams with a woman, right? Yeah, that's me, I admitted. You have a lead on what this is? Maybe, he said with a sly grin. Let me run some tests. If this is what I suspect, I might be able to help you out. He disappeared into the lab with the sticker. Meanwhile, the online campaign against me reached a fever pitch. Hashtags like hashtag dream predator, hashtag psychic assault, and hashtag coercion is crime were trending. The argument that a woman would never risk her reputation to lie about something like this was being used as a cudgel to demand my immediate arrest and conviction. Strangers started doxing me, harassing me online and off. I barely dared to leave my apartment. All I could do was wait. A few days later, my friend from the lab sent me the results. The report confirmed that the sticker contained a specialized microemitter. It generated a unique, low-frequency electromagnetic field capable of influencing neural pathways and mental states. In short, it could influence thoughts and dreams. His text was blunt: call the cops. Now, I took the lab report straight to the police station. When they heard my story, they looked at me with stunned disbelief. Don't tell me you've been infected with the same craziness as that woman, one of the detectives sighed. Maya had apparently been harassing them nonstop. I don't know how to explain it, I said, sliding the report across the table. This is the analysis from the UW lab. Just investigate it. I went home and waited. A few days later, the online storm vanished as quickly as it had appeared. Every accusatory post, every viral thread disappeared. Then came the news. Maya had been arrested. But it wasn't just Maya. My supervisor, Sarah Jenkins, and several other people were arrested along with her. The explanation I received from the police left me speechless. At the station, I saw Maya one last time as she was being led away in handcuffs. "You'll pay for this, Ethan," she screamed, her eyes filled with pure hatred. Sarah just gave me a smug, chilling smile. "You got lucky, Ethan. But don't think you've won. The movement is stronger than ever. The sisters are united. I didn't understand what she meant until the lead detective sat me down. They're part of a radical online collective, he explained. They were exploiting the current climate of gender tension, manufacturing incidents like yours, this dream rape scenario, to rally women and attack men. And you were their target. But why me? Because of some comments you made on your company's Slack channel a while back. You were complaining about the outrage mob and professional victims, the detective said, reading from file. Sarah Jenkins is a key figure in this group. She considered your views a threat to their ideology, so she targeted you. She used that device to link your dream state with Maya's and coach Maya on how to use it to publicly destroy you. Their goal was to create a high-profile case to fuel their cause. It can work like that? I asked, my jaw agape. The whole thing was so far beyond my comprehension, it felt like a plot from a TV show. Thankfully, it was over. I hadn't been dragged into the abyss. But even now, the memory of Maya's venomous glare as she was taken away sends a chill down my spine. The story, at least for me, was finally over.